Good evening and welcome to Hope TV News Watch on this Thursday, the 9th day of September 2021. It's a delight to have you tune in. I'm Tess Jenga and my sign language interpreter is Boniface Mureithi. Let us get you briefed on the day's stories. Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani has launched the 2021 Economic Survey report, which revealed that Kenya's economy posted its first annual contraction for the first time since 1992, with the year 2020 growth estimated at negative 0.3%. Accommodation and food services sector were the worst hit, declining by 47.7% on the back of COVID-19 restrictions, which saw hotels, bars, and other entertainment joints shut. Dickens Luvanda begins with this report.
The country's economic growth shrank by 0.3% during the 2020 financial year, according to the 2021 Economic Survey report released by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics (KNBS), this being a first-time contraction since 1992. Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani disclosed that the drop was attributed to the challenges brought about by the global COVID-19 pandemic.
The unprecedented challenge of COVID-19 has impacted negatively on the availability of statistics, while also occasioning late submission of some of the requisite information by the data producers for preparation of the report. The late submission of the data affected the subsequent stages in the compilation of the 2021 Economic Survey report.
According to the report, accommodation and food serving activities, education, professional and administrative services activities recorded significant declines in 2020. Accommodation and food services was the worst hit sector, declining by 47.7% on the back of COVID-19 restrictions, which saw hotels, bars and other entertainment joints shut.
Kenya's economy was adversely affected by COVID-19 pandemic, resulting in significant slowdown of economic activities. During the review period, the government's priority was to safeguard citizens' lives, while at the same time cushioning the economy from the effects of COVID-19. The restrictions in movement and social distancing led to the disruption in labor supply, leading to reduced demand for goods and services. Accordingly, many businesses, especially service industries, like tourism, significantly slowed down during the second quarter of 2020.
The education sector similarly fell by 10.7% as learners around the country abandoned the 2020 academic year, save for Class 8 and Form 4 candidates who returned to school at the tail end of the year 2020.
During the review period, the number of private primary schools increased by 1.5% to 9,191, while the number of public primary schools declined to 23,246 from 23,286 in 2019. The number of public teacher training colleges grew by 27 in 2019 to 30 in 2020, while the number of national polytechnics increased by 1 to 12 in 2020.
The report published on Thursday revealed that only half of the key economic sectors marked any kind of growth in the period, while the other half slacked in the direction of the general economy.
On the international scene, the global economy was estimated to have contracted by 4.2% in 2020 compared to the growth of 2.7% in 2019. The contraction was attributed to emergence of COVID-19 pandemic, which significantly constrained economic activity, as well as a decline in oil prices due to dwindling demand.
Dickens Luvanda, Hope TV News Watch.
Thank you, Dickens, for that report. Now, police operations in Laikipia Conservancy has intensified on day 2, even as bandits continue to be flushed out of their hiding places in a bid to rescue peace in the area. The Council of Governors Deputy President William Ruto and members of parliament allied to him have weighed in on the matter, calling on the government to act with speed to bring an end to the chaos and mayhem that has plagued the region for the past 1 month. Grace Wangoi tells us more.
It has been more than a month since residents of the Olmaran area, Laikipia County, began experiencing terror, mayhem, tension and insecurity that has so far completely disrupted their way of life. The matter, which has now escalated to a matter of national importance, has since attracted and invited several leaders to weigh in on the matter. Council of Governors Chair Governor Martin Wambora, addressing the press, called on the government to deploy the military, saying it was the only way to expedite the operation and bring peace to the area.
The national government to engage military personnel to reinforce the Kenya police who are already on the ground, the way we did it in 1984.
Wambora went on to further call on the police to bring culprits of the destruction of property, including the torched houses and the death of 8 Kenyans, to book. Rift Valley Regional Commissioner George Natembeya on Wednesday said that the main challenge of arresting suspects has been having inadequate evidence to prosecute them. This even as Tiati MP William Kamket, who was arrested on Wednesday in connection with the skirmishes in Laikipia, was released on Thursday after spending the night in police custody. His bail application will be reviewed by court on Friday.
Establish those responsible as a matter of urgency, arrest and prosecute mara moja.
Legislators in Deputy President William Ruto's camp have for a second time also voiced their stance on the matter, pointing an accusing finger at the Inspector General of Police, Hilary Mutyambai, for what they say is lack of enthusiasm and goodwill to bring an end to the chaos.
The Inspector General has refused to act professionally and independently in discharge of his duties. He has not hidden the fact that he's a helpless marionette at the beck and call of illegitimate outside forces. In so doing, he has undermined the constitutionally entrenched independence of his office and service to the grave detriment of the national security and the rule of law.
The committee failed to call out the CS over his callous disregard for a genuine national security emergency and humanitarian distress, and allowed him to rampage unchecked over non-issues. Completely abandoned their oversight mandate and neglected their constitutional duty to hold the executive to account on a national issue of fundamental importance.
What is happening in Laikipia is atrocious and totally unconscionable. The Inspector General of the National Police Service must take responsibility for the disastrous situation in Laikipia and resign. He has proven himself more than willing and able to take up partisan political errors and continues to demonstrate lackstyle motivation to address matters affecting Kenyans that fall within his core mandate.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiangi was not spared by the legislators, who are of the opinion that he has political vendetta against Ruto and has been directing his energy on that instead of focusing on the insecurity in Laikipia.
Shida ambayo iko Kenya hii ni kwamba yule ambaye angesimamia mambo ya usalama anafanya siasa ya bure na siasa duni kwa mambo ya usalama, na anahatarisha mambo ya nchi kwa kuendesha siasa badala ya kusimamia usalama.
Meanwhile, Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiangi also took the opportunity to assure residents of Olmoran that the government had adopted a new approach that will see the bandits' attacks resolved completely.
The National Security Council has adopted a much more comprehensive approach this time, and we are going to be present for many months on the ground to ensure that we address the land issues there, address administrative issues there and deployment there, so that we resolve the problem once and for all.
Grace Wangoi for Hope TV News Watch.
And Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiangi is blaming county governments over the rise of consumption of illicit liquor. Speaking during the launch of Rapid Response Initiative on illicit alcohol, drinks and substances, Matiangi pointed an accusing finger on county governments over the increase of the vice by licensing sellers as they chase revenues. CS Matiangi at the same time directed all the regional commissioners and county commissioners to fire all chiefs and their assistants who will be found guilty of abating illicit alcohol, drinks and substances within their areas of jurisdiction. Dolly Murigi has the details.
For the longest time, the government has cautioned the counties that have been involved in illicit drug dealing, especially the local leaders, with the consumption of illicit brew, leading to the death of a quite number of people. The recent incident being in Nakuru, where 10 people were killed after consuming illicit brew at a den a month ago, which could have been stopped had local administrators been keen.
Wasiwasi yangu ni kwamba inaweza kuwa hata ingine iko mahali kwa mahindi kule na kwa mandizi. Watu wanaficha kule na iko wajinga wanaendelea kunywa hiyo pombe. The
government has declared a nationwide crackdown against illicit alcohol and other substances in the build-up to the general election. Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiangi say the intensified campaign that we ran for an initial 30 days will target the proliferation of cheap and illegal liquor, whose supply and consumption tends to rise sharply towards the general election.
We have serious challenges. We have serious problems that we are dealing with. In the country. So this RRI would not have come at a better time. Let's go out of our way and ensure that we wage a very vicious war against illicit brews. It's also a fact that we are having our work is made harder by devolution. I will not pretend. Some of our county governments are part of the problem. They're not part of the solution. They're part of the problem.
The CS who spoke at the Kenya School of Government in Kabete, Kiambu County, urged national government administrators to lead, saying part of the illicit problem at the grassroots area is supported by the administrators who at times receive bribes from the sellers.
They are chasing revenue. But you see, they are chasing revenue at the expense of the lives of our people. So some counties are doing, despicable things in the name of looking for revenue. Licensing, people's houses, essentially, people's houses to become, drinking areas.
According to the Interior PS Dr. Karanja Kibichu, the government will put a stop of the cyclic nature of deaths from consumption of illicit alcohol witnessed during the election season by dedicating enough resources to counter the menace.
Those people at the lower administrative units sometimes are part of the problem. And I think today, as we start the RRI CS, it is a call to order for the officers who are here that deaths of Kenyans and sometimes turning Kenyans into cabbages because we are not taking action will squarely be blamed on us and history will be harsh on us.
Dolly Mirigi for Hope TV News Watch.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has this afternoon received President Kasti Kajulaid of the Republic of Estonia at State House, Nairobi. President Kasti has arrived for a 3-day official visit during which the two heads of state and their respective delegations will discuss several subjects of mutual interest to Kenya and the Baltic country. According to a statement by State House spokesman Kanze Dena, the historic visit by President Kasti will be the first official visit by an Estonian head of state to an African country.
Welcome. Thank you. Really wonderful to have you with us. The progress that Estonia has made, especially in the digital and technology world, is an area where Kenya is a leader on the continent, and I believe we have a lot that we can share together, learn together, especially in the provision of government services and the provision of health and other such areas, making life easier and more manageable for our people and less costly.
about Tallinn Digital Summit and building this Tallinn consensus on trust-based connectivity, and we've thought both that Kenya could be also on this continent one of the leaders of, and maybe the leader to carry forward this kind of consensus building more globally. We are seeing that we are coming together on this thinking with European Union, also US, OECD, and of course we need all supporters. It's a loose network, but I think it will get tighter and tighter in getting results, and this is very important.
The statement was by State House spokesperson and not spokesman Kanzedena. Moving on, we take a look at COVID-19 statistics. 501 people have tested positive for the disease from a sample size of 6,879 tested in the last 24 hours. The positivity rate is now at 7.3%. Total confirmed positive cases are 242,284, and cumulative tests so far conducted are 2,436,216. Fortunately, 312 patients have recovered, with 190 from home-based isolation and care, while 122 are from various health facilities countrywide, and total recoveries now stand at 230,407. Sadly, 34 patients have succumbed to the disease, pushing the cumulative fatalities to 4,864. A total of 1,752 patients are currently admitted to various health facilities countrywide, while 4,864 are under the home-based isolation and care program. At the same time, 163 patients are in the intensive care unit, 117 of whom are on ventilatory support, 40 on supplemental oxygen, and 6 patients are under observation. The top 5 counties with the highest numbers of new infections are Nairobi with 137 cases, Uasin Gishu 55, Nakuru 38, Kiambu 26, and Murang'a with 25 cases. The Ministry of Health has expressed optimism that the COVID-19 curve will flatten in the coming weeks, given the rising number of people getting vaccinated in the country. According to the Ministry of Health, the number of positive cases has been on the decline, though the demand for oxygen in hospitals is still high. During a media breakfast meeting on the status of COVID-19 management in Kenya today, Ministry of Health Acting Director General Dr. Patrick Amoth said the vaccination exercise is on course. As of yesterday, 2,980,929 vaccines had so far been administered across the country. Of these, total first doses are 2,160,564, while second doses are 820,365. The proportion of adults fully vaccinated is 3.0%.
We need to be able to convey information to the public that those who are above 50 ought to come for the vaccination, because they tend to get a more severe disease, which will lead them to be admitted in hospital, and when they get into hospital, they tend to have a bad outcome in terms of higher mortality. Many people are waiting for a particular vaccine, and we know from the system, if you got AstraZeneca, you are going to get AstraZeneca. So if you are waiting for a different vaccine, please don't delude yourself. And our appeal to you is to come out, go to your nearest designated vaccination center and get vaccinated. So what we are doing is to track them from the Chanjo platform, work with the community health volunteers through the county health system, the Nyumba Kumi initiative, and also you as a custodians of public information, to be able to relay the correct information that if you got AstraZeneca, it is safe for you, because in terms of efficacy of these vaccines preventing severe disease and mortality, all of them are efficacious. And the only way, the best way to confirm this, if you have looked at our figures in terms of data for mortalities, In all the groups, priority groups, the healthcare workers are the most vaccinated at about 65-66%, fully vaccinated. Do you remember the last time I reported the death of a healthcare worker? You may not remember. So they are protected because they have gotten the double dose of the vaccine.
Well, on that note, let's take our first commercial break on Newswatch tonight. We have plenty more stories coming your way. So keep it Hope TV.
Ngarisha na Optiven. Guess what? It's just about the right time to build your dream home. At the Garden of Joy by Optiven. It comes with Maram roads, solar street lights, water piping along the mains, children play area, and a jogging truck. Get your value-added plot at only 1.495 million Kenyan shillings cash with flexible installment options for up to 12 months. Deposit 995,000 Kenya shillings and get a free washing machine for your home. Ngarisha na Optiven. Call us today on 0790 300 300.
Inspiring possibilities with Optiven.
Our Christian life is not just about God always stepping in when you are in trouble. But sometimes you need to go through the valley of the shadow of death, and God will say, angels, stand away. He must go through that. She must go through that. Because out of this would come something greater and more beautiful.
This week on Turning Point by Dr. David Jeremiah.
We are more than conquerors. And Paul's not talking here about something that will happen to us. He's talking about things that are happening to us right now. In the midst of these things, we are more than conquerors. And we're not merely conquerors. We're not just neutralizing the things that happen to us. Paul says, no, we're overcoming them. We're overwhelming them. More than conquerors, so that whether it's death or life or angels or principalities or things present or things to come, whatever it is that's going on in our life, because of God's love for us, we can overcome that. We are more than conquerors. We are overcomers.
That's this week on Turning Point by Dr. David Jeremiah. Hope TV is where you look and live, offering some of the best family entertainment programs with Christian movies, in-depth discussions, contemporary Christian worship, and testimony programs. Hope TV provides the life-transforming message of Jesus Christ. We deliver inspirational, informational, and motivational programming with special guests and unmatched teaching. When it comes to watching television, tune in to Hope TV, where you look and live.
A very warm welcome back. National government, through the Department of National Heritage and Culture, has collected samples of herbal medicines from different herbalists in Kakamega County, which will be subjected to thorough laboratory tests to ascertain their ability to combat COVID-19. According to the Senior Director for Research at the National Museum of Kenya, Dr. Evans Taracha, the national government has already procured the herbal medicine from the herbalists and will work with Kenya Medical Research Institute in testing whether some or all of them could provide a solution to the COVID-19 pandemic in the country.
Chanjo, mnasikia chanjo ya ambayo inapewana huwa inalenga virusi ya corona. Lakini hii tiba tunataka ifanye kazi tofauti. Hii tiba hailengi virusi. Inalenga kuunda na kuporesha hali ya kinga ya mwili, yani immune booster. Tuelewe hiyo kabisa, hiyo ndio mbinu tunatumia. Vile vile tunataka tuulize swali la pili, na hiyo ndio kazi nyingine tunataka hii dawa hiyo maji ambayo nimezungumzia, ambayo huwa inajaa kwa mapafu na ndio inadhuru mwenye maambukizwa, hiyo inakuja na kitu inaitwa inflammation kwa Kiingereza. Kwa hivyo hii dawa ikiwa inaweza ikakuwa na uwezo wa kuwa anti-inflammatory kwa Kiingereza, anti-inflammatory, itasaidia mwili usitoe hayo maji kwa wingi kiasi kwamba ije idhuru mwenye ameambukizwa.
A human rights organization in Embu has decried the low pace of dealing with police brutality cases. Doris Namu from the Independent Medical Legal Unit in Embu County observed that out of the 50 cases, only 2 had been acted upon. She noted that the 2 cases of Kienjokoma slain brothers were dealt with following a public outcry which resulted in protests. She appealed to the Director of Public Prosecutions to fast-track the prosecution of the cases to ensure justice was served. She was speaking while visiting Samuel Ireri, who is nursing a broken arm after being overrun by a police Land Cruiser. Ireri narrated how a cop driving the police vehicle pulled him as he walked by the roadside and was overrun by the rear tires. He laments that the officer has been threatening and abusing him while his case had not taken off despite filing a P3 form.
Nilikuwa naelekea nyumbani, nikiwa natoka kazi. Kufika hapa Equity, nikafikiwa na gari la polisi. Nilikuwa na dereva pekee. Akakunja akanishika jacket yangu, akanifuruta. Aliponifuruta nilianguka, nikakanyangwa na mguu ya nyuma ya hiyo gari. Ilikuwa ni GKMB 187J na imeandikwa Kadageri. Sasa alipopita alirudi tena nyuma tena. Aliweka reverse. Hao watu walikuwa karibu, wakaanza kupiga nduru. Hao watu wa Mbonda. Wakakunja, OCS akakunja, alikuwa hapo kwa hiyo ngorofa ya Plaza. Akakunja, akasema nipelekwe police station. Nikapelekwa police station, nikachukua ombi namba ili niweze kupelekwa hospitali. Nipelekwa kwa hospitali ya Runyenjes, nikakataliwa. Nikapelekwa Kieni, nikakataliwa. Sasa nikarudi polisi tena, nikamwambia, OCS akanituma Teneri. Kaniambia enda Teneri, nitaongea na simu na nitakutumia mtu. Nilipoenda Teneri nikakaa masaa kama 2 hivi. Ndiye alituma yule askari alinikanyanga, akamtuma. Akakunja, nikapigwa picha ya mkono, halafu akaanza kukaa kama anatukana, akaniambia ati nikusaidia na nisaidia, na sio lazima nisaidie.
Maisha imebadilika juu hata nyumba nile alikuwa analipia siku na kazi. Ndiye alikuwa anatununulia chakula. Sasa ningetaka huyo askari achukuliwe hatua. Ningetaka tu ashikwe, afunguliwe faili yake, achukuliwe hatua na serikali. Ndio alifanya huyu mtu vibaya. Na siku ati ni makosa, ndio alimshika akiendesha gari. Kwa hivyo alikuwa anajua vile alikuwa anafanya.
Zile kesi ambazo zinatokana na dhuluma ya maafisa wa polisi ambazo ziko pending, ningetaka kuuliza DPP tafadhali achukue hatua kwa haraka, afanye fast tracking ya hizi kesi, maana ziko mingi zaidi kwa wakati huu.
We do hope that those cases will indeed get justice. Moving on, Kakamega County has set aside 60 million Kenya shillings to support people living with disabilities, according to Governor Wycliffe Oparanya. Oparanya said that the county conducted a census of disabled people and discovered that they had 49,000 people living with disabilities. He added that the census and need assessment informed the need to put in the money to support them get out of abject poverty.
We have now put in the 60 million. And then we need legislation, of course, to enable us to spend this money. I feel that as a county, we have made a step. And then now with the legislation that is coming on board, the policy there, then the legislation, we should be able to help these people. But you see, in government, things take time. They take time. Imagine we started the census 2017. We started, this idea started 2017, so imagine we are now 2021, and we have not finalized. But we are on the way, the journey is on.
Narok County Commissioner Evans Achoki has warned parents in the county who do not take their children to school that they risk being arrested and prosecuted. Achoki said the government was providing free primary school education in all public primary schools and free day education in all public day secondary schools, and there was no reason why any child should stay at home. He directed all chiefs and their assistants to ensure all children in their respective areas of jurisdiction were in school. The transition to Form 1 in the country stands at about 85%. He was speaking during the International Literacy Day celebration held in Suswa area in Narok East Sub-County on Wednesday.
Una mambo ambayo unataka wewe mwenyewe uweze kuyapitisha kwa watoto wako, kwa wenzako, lakini ikiwa wewe mwenyewe hujui, huna fahamu ya kusoma na kuandika, basi inakuwa vigumu sana kupitisha mambo haya. Kwa hivyo ni muhimu sana wale ambao hawajajiunga na vyuo vya elimu ya watu wazima waweze kujiunga na elimu ya watu wazima, ndio waweze kupata kujua kusoma na kuandika. Hasa wazee wajitokeze kwa wingi, waweze kujiandikisha na waweze kupata mafunzo ili waweze kuhitimu. Tumeona faida mingi sana ya kujua kusoma na kuandika. Kwa biashara, utaimarisha biashara yako ikiwa unajua kusoma na kuandika. Ikiwa wewe ni mkulima, utaweza kuendeleza ukulima wako ikiwa wewe unajua kusoma na kuandika.
Let's go across borders in Afghanistan. It's a sigh of relief to about 200 people, including Americans, who have flown out of Kabul in the first search operation since U.S. forces left the country. The Taliban all-men interim government agreed to let the foreigners leave through the Qatar Airways charter flight, which took off this afternoon to the Qatar capital, Doha, with a second flight due on Friday. More than 124,000 foreigners and Afghans fearful of Taliban retribution are flown out of the country. Protesters have continued to go on the streets in several parts of Afghanistan, defying Taliban pressure to stay at home. Women have protested the all-male government formed on Wednesday, seeking equality rights and inclusion in government. Taliban gunmen opened fire to disperse them, as well as whips and sticks. Photos have also emerged showing injuries inflicted on 2 journalists who covered protests on Wednesday. They are reported to have been badly beaten after being arrested by the Taliban in Kabul. Back to Africa, reports from Ethiopia in the Amhara region by doctors and local officials say that more than 120 civilians were massacred by rebellious forces earlier this month, with forces from neighboring Tigray rejecting allegations that they were responsible. The killings in Chena village near the town of Dabat took place in early September, according to the local administrator in Dabat. Chalach Dagnew, spokesperson of the nearby city of Gondar, confirmed that they had recovered 120 bodies who were all innocent farmers, adding that the number might be higher. Tens of thousands of people have fled their homes in the region as the Tigrayan forces have advanced. Let us now take our second commercial break. We have business and sports news on the way.
Angry president,
yes,
a betrayed deputy president, and a burdened citizen.
The spirit of BBI, we are losing it.
How do we end up with immoral people leading the moral?
Candid talk.
At the core of our being, we are spiritual.
How should the church at this particular time show leadership?
As long as God is not done with us, or He's not pleased with our repentance or our turning to Him, we may still continue suffering the consequences.
Bold approach.
Whatever you bind on earth is bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth is loose. Become a son. Your life and your well-being is completely dependent on God and His power.
Spotlight. Hope TV is where you look and live, with an excellent selection of the best Christian programming consisting of local and international content, of inspirational stories, talk shows, Bible commentary, youth, health shows, children entertainment, contemporary gospel music, extended times of worship, live broadcast, news, movies, drama, Christian ministry programs, and so much more. Hope TV is another quality service from Christ is the Answer Ministries, with over 45% of authentic and credible local content every week. Hope TV is a sister station to Hope FM, Kenya's leading Christian radio station, with footprints across the country. Tune in to Hope TV, where you look and live. From country music, classical quartet harmonics,
Now I'm a child,
homecoming series,
for He saved the worst among
tent revival, and many more.
I'm gonna lay down my burden down by the riverside, down by the riverside.
Watch these great musical adventures on The Bill Gaither Show, featuring Gaither Vocal Band, Linda Randall,
For the God on the mountain.
and many other series like The Alaskan Cruise.
And now I'm feeling mighty fine.
These gospel favorites, recorded in front of beautiful sceneries, guaranteed to rejuvenate your love for gospel music. Bill Gaither Show, only on Hope TV, where you look and live.
Only God can turn a mess into a message.
I have a boy on a wheelchair.
Yeah.
I'm still preaching on the pulpit.
Amen.
Niliona mguu ya nyuma inakuja tu kunikanyaga, imenilenga tu kwa tumbo, nikaitana tu Jesus.
I got tired of working with the x-ray papers, and one day I just woke up and decided to burn them.
A test into a testimony.
The whole community didn't want to hear that anybody is born again. Excommunicated straight.
Bila Yesu hakuna njia.
Join Sharon Naitore Wangenye on Testify.
Katika hiyo harakati, hiyo spirit ikakemewa. Mimi nimeona Yesu Kristo namna hii kwa msalaba. Opa! Hallelujah! Hallelujah!
Every Thursday at 8 p.m. for a moment to grow your faith some more.
Let's continue with business. Kenya and Uganda Trade and Industrialization Cabinet ministers have vowed to seek a common ground as part of deliberate efforts to end persistent bottlenecks that affect smooth flow of bilateral trade. Both Kenya and Uganda have reported several non-tariff barriers that have continued to create unnecessary friction between the two economic partners that depend on each other as strategic export markets. Speaking during the official opening of Kenya-Uganda Agribusiness Symposium and Exhibition in Mombasa, Kenya's Trade Cabinet Secretary Betty Maina emphasized on the need for consolidating trade and economic ties between the two countries. At the same time, Uganda Trade and Industrialization Minister Francis Mwebesa called for the speedy eradication of non-tariff barriers within Kenya-Uganda cross-border so as to facilitate trade.
Our regional integration journey is a journey that would take us there. Our expansion of markets will take us there, but it requires collaboration between the business communities of our countries, not base competition that is basically sometimes very, very destructive, very, very, very noisy, but we do have possibilities. We jointly negotiated for the access to the European markets in the Economic Partnership Agreement. And my brother, as you're still, settling into the office, one of the gains for these business people and the investors that we are attracting is if we can jointly take advantage of that market together. And we welcome and encourage Uganda not just to sign the EPA, but to also to start the journey of implementation, because none of us can meet the demand in those markets alone.
Trade between Uganda and Kenya is governed by two frameworks. The East African Community, through the treaty establishing the East African Community, relevant protocols, institutions administrate and agreements and protocols, including the Council of Ministers and Sectoral Council on Trade, Industry and Finance and Investment, Coordination Committee, East African Secretariat. The Joint Ministerial Commission bilateral framework created in 2014 with the signing of an agreement to establish the Joint Ministerial Commission on Elevation of Joint Permanent Commission, whose agreement had been signed in 1993. Since the start of East African Customs Union in 2020, Uganda exports to Kenya Uganda exports to Kenya have increased tremendously.
4 salt companies in Kilifi County, Magarini Sub-County, are under investigation for allegedly operating without mining and exports permits. Magarini Member of Parliament Michael Kingi says majority of the salt companies have obtained the licenses and are still paying royalties to the Ministry of Lands instead of Ministry of Mining as per the Mining Act of 2016. It, however, emerged that majority have not obtained the mining or export licenses and are still paying at the Ministry of Lands instead of Ministry of Mining as per the Act. Salt farm officials said the Mining Act, when formulated, did not consider engaging them, hence want the law changed.
We have engaged with the Ministry of Mining for the last 3 years. We have met quite a number of your team, and we have formed a task force where the objective of the task force is to integrate the salt industry into the Mining Act. So we are absolutely aware. Are we registered? We are registered. And have we been paying for permits? Yes, we have been paying. And have we been paying royalties? We have been paying royalties to the Ministry of Lands.
You have issues of the remittance of the royalties. They are supposed to pay you the taxes. Tuangalie pesa imeenda wapi. Whether they are doing the right thing. If it's about law, we will have to change the law. Of course, through amendments, proposals by the members of Parliament. And us as members of Parliament, we do that. We are lawmakers. We are able to look at it and also advise them on the best way to do.
Labda makampuni ya chumvi yamejitenga sana na uongozi, hasa uongozi wa kisiasa, kwa sababu tetesi ambayo iko kuhusu ile act ya 2017 Mining Act ambayo hawaikubali. Ingekuwa rahisi kama tungekaa na wao ili waeleze kabisa ni wapi wakubaliana na ile act. Ingekuwa hakuna huu mvutano. Nafikiri imechukua muda kucomply kwa sababu unakuta kwamba hakuwa na mtu ambaye anaweza kuwa advise. Walikuwa wanalipa royalties, but unajua act inasema walipe kwa Ministry of Mining na wao wanalipa Ministry of Lands. Kwa hivyo mimi naomba tu wawekezaji wangu ambao mimi nawaamini sana, hasa wa chumvi, tuwe tukizungumza pale ambapo tunaweza kuwasaidia ili mambo yao ikuwe rahisi. Mimi niko tayari.
And after a long-term challenge of poor prices that have been facing maize and wheat farmers in the North Rift region, farmers have a reason to smile after the Ministry of Social Services, in partnership with Capital 51, launched a silkworm farming in Uasin Gishu and Elgeyo Marakwet counties. Speaking during the groundbreaking of 10,000 acres of land in Ziwa, Uasin Gishu County, that will be used to train local farmers, they said the project will offer job opportunities to women and youths, calling upon youth to venture into agriculture instead of looking for white-collar jobs. The training has started targeting farmers with more than half an acre that will be provided with mulberry tree and silkworm for breeding. However, they added that they have partnered with Kenya Agricultural, Livestock and Research Organization that will help to sensitize farmers by training them on how to breed maize silkworm. The project is the first to be launched in Africa with an aim of empowering thousands of youths and women in the country.
The most important part in the silk production is the leaves. Because these leaves will be harvested, the leaves will then be chopped into small pieces, then we feed to the worms. So we have two entities here. We have the farm whereby we are planting the mulberries, and we have the silkworms. As we had said earlier, we will be supplied the worms. So we'll be feeding our worms in our structure here. The structure actually is quite simple. So long as you have a small size structure, you just erect some vertical shelves, whereby at least they get to enjoy the humidity, temperature, and at least there is some air circulation. And the production of silk, that is almost 40 or 21 days, depending on how we feed them. That is where we get the silk itself.
And on that note, let's take our last commercial break. We'll be back with sports news.
First Thessalonians chapter number 5 verse 17. Pray without ceasing, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you.
On Watch and Pray, we pray for you and with you regarding your prayer requests, our nation and the whole world.
There's this one who is saying there's a marriage separation in marriage, but let's pray for the babies and then restore also. Father God Almighty.
Join Mama Eda Adoyo on Watch and Pray every Monday from 7:30 p.m. live on Hope TV, where you look and live. Join us every Sunday for unlimited, uplifting, powerful worship, only on Extended Worship.
Let's talk sports. Now, 2 goals from Gentrix Shikangwa have ensured that Vihiga Queens clinch a slot in the inaugural CAF Women's Champions League after edging out Ethiopian champions Commercial Bank of Ethiopia 2-1 at Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani. Gentrix opened the scoring for Vihiga Queens in the 27th minute, tapping in after Hasabe Gila had punched the initial shot. In the second half, Vivian Makoha headed into her own net from a free kick to level the game. The decisive moment came in stoppage time after Phoebe Owiti was brought down in the box and the referee pointed to the spot. Apart from taking home slightly over 3 million Kenya shillings, Vihiga becomes the 7th team to book a slot in Egypt for the first of its own event in Africa. The 8 teams that made it to the final event will be put in 2 pools, with the first 2 teams in each pool progressing to the semi-final. And earlier, Uganda's Lady Doves edged out Tanzania's Simba Queens to claim the 3rd spot in the CAF Women Champions League Sekafa Zonal Qualifiers at Kasarani Stadium. A goal apiece from Spencer and Fazila were all Lady Doves needed to edge out their opponent, with Asha Jafari scoring the consolation for Simba. Lady Doves opened the scoring 21 minutes into the game after a defensive mishap by Simba's defenders, who failed to clear the ball when they had time to do so. And it's a wrap on Newswatch tonight. On behalf of the whole team, thank you for watching. I'm Tess Jenga, and my sign language interpreter is Boniface Murithi. We leave you with Friday's weather forecast. Have a good night and be blessed.